Impact. My name's Andy Greetham, and I'm a sophomore here at Willow Crystal Lake. Bruh, it's Sunday. It's time to learn about some Jesus. If you're here with us live, feel free to say something in the chat. That way we can say hi to you. As you're doing that, we have a quick couple reminders for you before we get started with service today. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at WCL_impact, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. Click the subscribe button and then click the bell to get notifications for whenever we post something new. Seriously, you guys do not want to miss Tuesday, Mbailey with Mike, The Game Show with Josh on Thursdays, or Adulting with Hannah on Fridays. How would you like to be a part of our weekend services? You see how incredible of a job I'm doing right now, currently? I'm just saying. If you're interested in becoming a part of our hosting team, then please email Hannah and we'll get you connected. Also, if this is your first time joining us, please feel free to shoot us an email at any of the addresses below. We would love to help you get connected. If you're new or an Impact regular, make sure you join a small group. Go to our website, wclimpact.com, to register. And if you have any questions, feel free to email Hannah. We are going into our 4th week of What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do series. And today, Josh is going to talk to us about how when we don't know what to do, our problems can position us for a purpose. Alright, it's now time to jump into some worship. So, wherever you're watching right now, let's go ahead and jump into service today by heading into a time of worship.
There's a grace when the heart is under fire. Another way when the walls are closing in. And when I look at the space between where it used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There was another in the fire, standing next to me. There was another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminded of how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears the burden, where another died for me. There is another in the fire. In the fire. All my dead left for dead beneath the waters. I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. And should I fall in the space between what remains of me and this reckoning, either way, I won't bow to the things of this world. And I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire, standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the sea. And should I ever need reminding, power set me free. There is a grave that holds nobody, and now the power lives in me. There is another in the fire. Hear the roar in the heavens as the space between we're standing. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in, and nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. There'll be another in the fire, standing next to me. There'll be another in the water, holding back the sea. count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. Standing here in your presence, in a grace so relentless, I am won by perfect love, wrapped within the arms of heaven, in a peace that lasts forever, sinking deep in mercy. See, I'm wide awake, drawing close, stirred by grace, and oh, my heart is yours, and all fear removed. I breathe you in, I lean into your love. Oh, your love. When I'm lost, you pursue me. Lift my head to see your glory, Lord of all. So beautiful. Here in you I find shelter, captivated by the splendor of your face, my secret place. And I'm wide awake, drawing closer by grace, and oh, my heart is yours, and all fear removed. I breathe you in, I lean into your love. Oh, your love. Your love so deep is washing over me. Your face is all I seek. You are my everything. Jesus Christ, you are my one desire. Lord, in my only cry, to know you all my life. Love so deep is washing over me. Your face is all I seek. You are my everything. Jesus Christ, you are my one desire. Lord, in my only cry, to know you all my life. I'm wide awake, I'm drawing closer by grace, and oh, my heart is yours, and all fear removed. I breathe you in, I lean into your love.
Hey Impact, it's Josh, and oh, you know what, since I didn't get a chance to see you last week, happy 4th of July, or, well, okay, it was the 12th of July now, so yeah, happy 12th of July. Yeah, okay, so, anyway, so one thing we've probably all been doing a lot more since being stuck at home is watching movies, and of course there have been some really, really good ones that have come out recently, like pretty much all of the Avengers, or the, you know, the Spider-Man movies, or, but there's actually been some pretty terrible movies, and yeah, I'm looking at you, Artemis Fowl, I mean, seriously, that movie was an hour and 55 minutes of my life that I can't get back. And I don't even know if you can give movies negative stars, but I want... Actually, you know what? Here's the thing. Because I can't give it any stars, I feel like maybe it should give me some stars. Anyway. But yeah, so I ran out of awesome, huge blockbusters, like about a month ago. I mean, Endgame was great, but you can only watch it so many times. So I started looking through a bunch of lists of the top 100 movies ever made, or the top 100 movies of the 1970s, and that sort of thing. And that's when I realized that in 2004, there was a movie called Alien vs. Predator. And at first, I'm like, that sounds great. But then I realized that I'd actually never seen the original movie Alien or the original movie Predator. So, you know what I did? Yeah, first I watched Predator, which was pretty much Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting against an alien that wants to kill him. Was the acting good? No. Were the effects good? Not even close. But it was awesome! Right? And then I decided to watch the original Alien movie, which is basically Sigourney Weaver fighting against an alien that wants to kill her. And I thought, this is going to be just as awesome. Except it ended up being super confusing. They kept talking about things that never actually happened in the movie. Or, they were talking about characters that never appeared in the movie. And then, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so maybe I should have realized it earlier. But apparently, the movie I was watching was called Aliens, not Alien. You see, Aliens with an S is the sequel to Alien without an S. But here's what's confusing me. Why didn't they just call it Aliens and Aliens 2? Anyway, long story short, watching the sequel before watching the original was severely disappointing. And that's because when you do that, you end up missing a crucial component of the movie that we call the backstory. Now, backstory is all the stuff that you need to know in order for a movie to make sense. It's why we always end up knowing the superhero's secret identity, even though hardly any of the other characters in the movie have any idea, right? What's weird, though, is that sometimes movies introduce backstory in really odd ways. They give you tiny details here and there that you'll need to know later, but you don't even realize it that that's what's happening when it's happening. And in fact, sometimes those details that they give you can actually leave you asking, wait, okay, what is this thing? What does this have to do with anything? Or why is this even part of the movie right now? Only for you later to realize, like at the end of the movie, that it was actually a crucial detail to the story. And my guess is that some point in your life, maybe honestly even right now, you found yourself in a situation where something happened or is happening that made you almost do a double take. And you ask, wait, why is this happening? Or what does this have to do with anything? And maybe specifically, why is this happening to me? Now, for the past few weeks, we've been trying to figure out what to do when you don't know what to do. And that's exactly the kind of help that we need when something happens that just jumps out of nowhere, hits us sideways, and just leaves us dumbfounded. So maybe something like that has actually happened to you. Maybe when people have made fun of you, or when a close friend has moved away or passed away, or when certain things become really difficult because of a learning disability that you were born with, or maybe you've had to be part of a family meeting where your parents tell you that they're actually deciding to get a divorce, or maybe you've been doing something that you know isn't good for you, and usually you've been able to keep it under control, but now you're actually starting to wonder if maybe it actually has control of you. Now, okay, so whatever it is for you, when we experience difficulties like these, they have the tendency to feel random and pointless, and honestly sometimes even just completely unnecessary. Now, sometimes it's like the movie, right, where we eventually see some sense of purpose behind a painful experience, but a lot of the time, the reality is that it's usually just really difficult to see purpose in situations that just don't feel good. And very much unlike the movies, our difficult circumstances usually don't get figured out and wrap up nice and neat in about 90 minutes. So here's what I'd like to do. I want to jump back into the story of Joseph, because if there's anyone who understands what it's like to have life just kind of hit him out of nowhere, it's Joseph. Now, remember, up to this point, what we've seen. You ready for this? Yeah. So first we start out with Joseph at home. Remember, he's got 11 brothers, right? He's dad's favorite. Nobody else likes him, and he's kind of a brat. Then he gets sold into slavery by his brothers, but hey, at least they didn't kill him, right? Yeah. And then he's taken to Egypt. Yeah, the slave traders who bought him took him far away from home and sold him to a man named Potiphar, who, again, all things considered, treated him about as well as a slave could expect in 3000 BC. But again, that's not great. It's not even good. But he is alive, at least. And then things take an even worse turn when he's falsely accused. Right? Potiphar's wife falsely accuses him of rape. And then he's put into prison. And so now he's in prison. And even though things seem to be as bad as they're possibly ever going to get, Joseph makes a point to continue to honor God no matter what. And in the process of honoring God, the guards actually take notice and they start giving him responsibility inside the prison. Now again, side note, this may sound like things are finally starting to go Joseph's way, but remember, he's a slave that's in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Just because things get a little bit better doesn't mean that they're better. So all that being said, when weird stuff started happening in the prison, people started looking to Joseph to help them understand it. For example, these two prisoners, one, the former cupbearer to Pharaoh, and the other, the former baker for the Pharaoh, started having these really weird dreams. And when they told their dreams to Joseph, he was actually able to tell them what the dreams meant. For the cupbearer, Joseph told him that his dream meant that in 3 days he would be cleared of his crimes and ultimately restored to his previous position in Pharaoh's court. And that's exactly what happened. Now the baker, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. When Joseph heard the baker's dream, he told him that it meant in 3 days Pharaoh would double down on his conviction and that he would actually have him executed. And that's exactly what happened. So now you'd think the cupbearer would be telling everybody about what Joseph was able to do and that Joseph would be some kind of hero. But no, it actually ends up being kind of like the cupbearer completely forgets that Joseph ever existed. That is, until Pharaoh started having dreams of his own. So check out how his dream is described in Genesis chapter 41, verses 2 through 4. It says, "And behold, there came up out of the Nile 7 cows, attractive and plump, and they fed in the reed grass. And behold, 7 other cows, ugly and thin, came up out of the Nile after them, and stood by the other cows on the bank of the Nile. And the ugly, thin cows ate up the 7 attractive, plump cows." So yeah, this dream is pretty weird, right? And Pharaoh is rightly freaked out. So he asks everyone he can think of what his dreams mean, and nobody is able to help. And then out of nowhere, the cupbearer is like, "Oh yeah, I know this one guy who knows how to tell people what their dreams mean. Have you asked him yet?" So Pharaoh calls for Joseph. And then the Pharaoh asks him if he has the power to understand his dreams. But check out what Joseph says in Genesis 41:16. Joseph answered Pharaoh, "It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer." Yeah, talk about honoring God. This is Joseph's one chance to show off. And he, from the very beginning, decides to give 100% of the credit to God. And so what he does is he actually tells Pharaoh that his dream basically means that Egypt is going to experience 7 years where their crops are going to be awesome. But that's going to be followed by 7 years of intense drought and famine. And that in order to have enough food for the 7 years of famine, Egypt needs to use those first 7 years to stockpile and to prepare. And then what's even better, Pharaoh was so impressed with Joseph that he actually puts him in charge of the project. Now, he went from being a slave who was imprisoned after being falsely accused to literally becoming the second most powerful person in all of Egypt. And as we'll see, it even put Joseph in a position to ultimately save his own family from the famine. Now, is Joseph's life perfect? No, not by a long shot. Was everything that happened to Joseph awesome? No way. But when we look at the whole story, including Joseph's backstory, we start to see how God used both the good and the bad things that happened in Joseph's life to uniquely position him to do something great. And that's it, right there. Look, difficult things can happen in your life. And it's important to remember that just because something difficult happens doesn't mean that God made it happen, or even that he wanted it to happen. But it is good to remember what the Apostle Paul teaches us in Romans chapter 8, verse 28. It says this, "And we know that for those that love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose." Now, that's not saying that everything that happens to us is good, but it is saying that God has a way of taking our experiences and giving them purpose or meaning. And that's what I need you to hear today. When you don't know what to do, remember that your problems can position you for a purpose. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to be super happy about every problem that comes our way, but it does mean that we need to be able to leave room for God to use our circumstances and our experiences to tell a new and better story. So when there are things that you're going through that you can't quite figure out what the purpose is, I'd like to challenge you to remember just a few things. At first, remember that no one else has your life story. Now, that means that your story is unique, but it's also important. Don't ever feel like your story doesn't matter, because that is simply not true. And the second thing is to remember that your story can actually interact with others' stories. Often our circumstances give us the ability to understand the circumstances of those around us. For example, if you've been through a lot of family drama, maybe you can give comfort to others who are going through family drama now. Or if you've experienced a really difficult breakup, maybe you can encourage someone else who's experiencing something similar. Or one, honestly, that hits home for me, if you've ever had significant doubts or questions about your faith, then you might just be the perfect person to provide a safe place for someone else to talk through their own questions and doubts. Now look, without a doubt, Joseph went through pain in his life. And if I'm being honest, most of the time, to him, that pain probably felt really pointless. But then, when we take a look at the whole story, when we take the backstory into account, we see that God used his problems and positioned him for a purpose. God took his impossibly bad situation and used it to create unimaginable good. Now, we're going to talk more about that good next week, but for now, I just want to encourage you to imagine what it would be like for God to do the same with you. What if God used your painful situation to position you for something amazing that you just haven't imagined yet? So maybe this week, let's ask God to help us see more of our story, more than just our current situation, and hopefully to see how he might be trying to use our current situation for good. In fact, I know it's not always going to be easy to see how our current situation connects to something good, but we have to remember one thing. If there is any good in this world, it is God. And God has never left us. He's never forsaken us. In fact, he is right here with us. And if God is with us, then that means that there is some tiny glimpse of good always around us. In fact, I want you to know that we are praying for you. I want you to know that we love you. And I want you to know that we hope that you have an awesome week. All right, we'll see you soon.
I'm pretty sure I've said this every week, but seriously, I'm loving this series. There's so many times in life where I have no idea what to do or what the next step is. And this week's message serves such a great reminder that when we don't know what to do, remember that our problems can position us for a purpose. It's interesting to think about our life problems like that, right? There's this song I heard, and one of the verses, it says, "If it's not good, then you're not finished." And basically what it's saying is that God's work is always good. So if we're at a point in our lives where things just aren't, we should actually be excited, because that means God is literally at work right then and there. Impact, life definitely gets hard. It's okay to feel everything that comes along with that. But because things are hard, it doesn't mean God isn't there. He's working, and He can take a bad situation and turn it for good. I want to challenge you to pause and reflect. Look back at your life. Have you gone through some hard things? Are you able to see the ways that God moved? Are you going through a hard time right now? How can you remind yourself and believe that your problems can actually position you for a purpose?